League lovers, hello and welcome to The Game Plan, where each week we analyse the greatest game of all. You won't find it anywhere else. I'm Zach Bailey, joined by Anthony Seabell once again. Seabs, round 6, we saw some interesting performances.
Yeah, some vastly improved performances by some of the teams at the lower end of the table, particularly West Tigers and Manly Seagulls. I thought their defence was outstanding on the weekend, and although the Tigers didn't get the result, much improved effort. All
right, we're going to focus on the Seagulls and the West Tigers a little bit later on, but today's discussion is going to be all about the defensive systems inside the 20-metre line when you're defending the goal line, which is such an important part of the NRL, and in particular these principles: winning the play the ball, line speed, inside pressure on the ball players, the role of the markers and the role of the fullback, who you've said previously is the most important player in that area, even if they are behind the defensive line sometimes. Let's start with the Melbourne Storm though. They've been the best defensive unit over the past decade.
Yeah, they have, and a lot of it's been built around their try line defence. Their defence inside the 20-metre zone is probably better than any other team in the competition at the moment. And I'll go back to Friday night against the Roosters. Roosters scored a try right at the death of this particular game. And there's one set towards the back end of the game I was super impressed with. You'll see Lindsay Collins for the Roosters carry the ball off a tap penalty. And the first point I want to make is this. You'll see Jesse Bromwich here in the tackle. All right, one of the first principles defending your own try line is winning the play the ball. So you need to make sure you stay in the tackle, you need to squeeze up, and what you're trying to do, Zach, is buy time for the defenders, the third man and the fullback to get the line organised in behind them. So during the week, coaches will look at opposition teams, they'll game plan around opposition trends, and we know that the Roosters are a near zone, far zone team off a penalty tap. So one to the near zone, Jesse Bromwich and Brandon Smith need to win that tackle.
When you speak about winning the play the ball, both teams are trying to win that play the ball though, aren't they? So does it all come down to speed? It
all comes down to how willing and able Brandon Smith and Jesse Bromwich are in that tackle with regards to getting their body in front, how effective the third man is with him doing his role at the legs, but then also squeezing on the floor. So if they do that really well, it means Ryan Papenhuyzen can organise the line. Now, what Lindsay Collins is trying to do on the other side of the footy, he's trying to play the ball fast because Sam Walker and James Tedesco want quick ball. They want to be able to play over the advantage line. So if we go to the next play, this is a set-up play. This is tackle 2. Sam Walker dishes it up. Okay, what Roosters are trying to do is get to the far zone, and what they're trying to do is get Kenny Bromwich, who's the forward defender for the Storm, inside the tackle, and they do that. Really good job there by Papenhuyzen as the third man, and by the squeeze on the floor from Harry Grant and Kenny Bromwich, it allows Ryan Papenhuyzen to get back into the line. Now, that then creates a really thick line for the Melbourne Storm. And you'll see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Melbourne Storm defenders on the long side. So as I said, Craig Bellamy would have game planned during the week, Roosters being a near zone, far zone team, to come back against the grain with their big shape. So you can see the Roosters line to the left-hand side of the play the ball there. But also you'll see here with regard to the Storm, they're able to leave 4 defenders versus 4 attackers on the short side. They've got 2 markers set and a really thick line that the Roosters are attacking against.
So you don't mind if Ryan Papenhuyzen is involved in that tackle there on the second tackle, as long as he gets back and plugs into the line to create that 7-man defensive edge?
Yeah, what these 2 defenders here will be trying to do is buy time for Ryan Papenhuyzen to get back into the line. Now, they would have game planned during the week. They need 7 defenders on the long. That would have been how they practiced all week at training. 7 defenders on the long side, because what it does, it disrupts this attack of the Roosters. When you're going against 7 defenders from that field position there, it is hard to attack. So often what you need to do is either run out of room, or you have to dish the ball back onto the inside, or take the tackle.
So the Roosters, they're set up to the left, and that's exactly where the ball goes on their third tackle.
Yeah, so again, this is where the ball goes. There's the long shift. Now, the next principle I want to talk about is with regards to the Melbourne Storm and most teams, or all teams, trying to get to this 10-metre zone. What they're trying to do is put grass behind them, okay? And when you put grass behind yourself as a defensive unit, it's actually almost like a safeguard. So they do a good job there getting to the 10 or even past the 10 there in Remus Smith. Jerome Hughes makes the tackle. Kafusi comes to join in. Now, what you'll see with Jerome Hughes is on tackle 3, he's really squeezing up. And what he is trying to do again is to buy some time there. Okay, so Ryan Papenhuyzen can organise the defence at the back.
Okay, so if I'm a regular rugby league viewer, and watcher of other analytical programs, you might hear people talk about elbows, knees. So right there, Morris finds his elbows, knees. So how does Jerome Hughes win that play the ball?
Yeah, so he doesn't get him on his back, which is the ideal scenario for a defending side. So what Jerome Hughes has to do is he has to squeeze and stay in the tackle. So you can see Jerome Hughes there staying in the tackle. Then when he wants to get off, that's when he gets to first marker. But again, in the background, Ryan Pappenhausen has organised the defence. So as we play it through for tackle 4, Tedesco goes across field. Now again, you'll see the defenders here for the Melbourne Storm, in particular, Cameron Munster, Justin Olam outside him, they get out past the 10. They almost get to the 15. They rush off the defensive line. And what they're trying to do is send Tedesco back on the inside or play to an inside ball play. They don't want him to play all the way to the far edge, to the right-hand side for the Roosters. And they do a really good job there. I know Eisenhuth slips off the tackle, but great scramble D there by Harry Grant. Inside the tackle is Brandon Smith. Now, Harry gets left on the floor there. That's okay. All right, so again, that's tackle 4 down. Storm have 2 more tackles to defend. The next thing I want to show you is point out what inside pressure does on ball players. You won't see this at home often. All right, if you're watching the grandstand, you probably don't notice this, but it is an effort area. It doesn't take talent, it doesn't take skill, but it is a big play inside your 20-metre zone. So have a look at Jesse Bromwich. There's a change of pace by Jesse Bromwich here. He goes and puts inside pressure on Sam Walker. Now, what that does to young Sam Walker, it makes him play early. Now, the other players I want to point out are the defenders here. So you'll see Jerome Hughes, Remus Smith and George Jennings for the Melbourne Storm. By that inside pressure from Jesse Bromwich, it means that those 3 defenders don't have to make a decision. So George Jennings doesn't have to come and jam on Hutchinson or jam on James Tedesco, whoever's out the back of shape there. They stay connected and work together. So watch this. Work together there. Great job by Jerome Hughes, Remus Smith and George Jennings working together. Now it's the last. Pappenhausen's in the tackle. He leaves the tackle, exits the tackle so he can get on his Kelpie dog. You'll see that George Jennings and Remus Smith don't actually become one marker. They split close to the line, so there's nobody directly in front of the play the ball. They split close to the line, so they've got a thicker line. And then watch Jesse Bromwich again. The change of intensity from Jesse Bromwich here. Okay? Puts the kicker for the Roosters, Hutchinson, under all sorts of pressure. And there's 2 other effort areas I want to point out. It's these 2 guys here. You'll see Cameron Munster running Manu off the football, and you'll see Harry Grant running James Tedesco off the football, which means there's a clear catch for Justin Olam. That is as good of defensive set that you'll find inside the 20 metres, and points out all those key principles: winning the play the balls, fantastic line speed, putting grass behind them, inside pressure and kick pressure there from Jesse Bromwich. Marker systems change from 2 markers to 1 or 0 markers close to the line. And then obviously Ryan Pappenhausen plugged in the line there to thicken it up. So fantastic defensive principles inside their 20-metre zone.
And as you said, 3 key plays there from Jesse Bromwich. That would please Craig Bellamy. When we talk about the Storm, I said off the top, they've been the best defensive team over the past decade. Where do they currently rank with a system like that in defence?
Oh, well, I think they're as good as any team in the competition from a defensive point of view. I know the game's skewed a little bit towards the attack with the change of rules and trying to speed their game up in some respects, but I still think a very good defensive side like the Melbourne Storm are going to be there at the end of the year off the back of their principles defensively. You can see how hard a bloke like Jesse Bromwich works. Now, people at home probably didn't see the inside pressure on Sam Walker, didn't see the kick pressure on Hutchinson, and didn't see his squeeze and his ability to be able to slow the ball down on tackle 1 versus Lindsay Collins. But they're big effort areas that don't require talent. And Jesse Bromwich is, in my opinion, one of the top front rows in the competition off the back of those non-talent required areas in the game.
So if the Melbourne Storm are any chance of going back-to-back this year, is it off the back of their defence more so than their attack? Because their attack is red hot when they're on. Yeah,
I think if they can continue to turn teams away like they did against the Roosters. Now, Roosters are a quality side. I think, although they're missing some key players, they're a very good attacking unit. Like any team that has James Tedesco in their back line are a chance of scoring points. And I just thought it was a tremendous defensive effort on Friday night. And a lot of it was built around their try line defence. They showed real resilience and grit, which is not unusual because they've been doing that for as long as Craig Bellamy's been the head coach of the Melbourne Storm.
All right. West Tigers, let's move on to them. And when you said that you wanted to highlight some of their defensive efforts, I thought it could be negative. But you've said, and what you saw from the weekend against South Sydney, they're much improved in that area.
Yeah, big improvement. Now, South Sydney are in the top couple of teams in the competition, in attack in particular. Some real weapons in Damien Cook and Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell, obviously. But I just thought it was a big improved defensive effort by the West Tigers, particularly when they were defending their try line on Saturday. And before the game, in the first 5 rounds, West Tigers averaged 32 points against over those first 5 weeks. And I think if they were any chance of beating the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they needed to improve their defence, particularly after their display at Leichhardt Oval against the Cowboys. And I thought they did a tremendous job. Michael Maguire would have worked really hard during the week in and around their try line defence principles. And I saw a really good example against the South Sydney Rabbitohs last Saturday. So, again, South Sydney start with a tap. And again, Michael Maguire and the West Tigers coaching staff would have game planned this. You'll see that there's 3 defenders in the tackle there. There's 1, 2 and 3, okay, with James Tamau and Joel Fingawe in the tackle there. As we let it play through, Junior Totola for the West Tigers, they're trying, for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, trying again to create a quick play of the ball for Damien Cook. Now, the thing I want to point out here is there's Joel Fingawe and James Tamau working really hard to slow the play the ball down, but you'll see James Tamau disappear. So as we get closer to the line, most teams in the NRL will go from 2 markers to 1 marker, and they start to do that somewhere in and around that 7 or 8 metres from the try line. So now Joe's by himself. By James Tamau going back into the line there, what it means is essentially there's an extra defender in the line. So they've got Dane Laurie in the line to thicken it up as the fullback plugging, but also now, rather than 2 markers, they go to 1 marker. All of a sudden there's Joe by himself at marker, but then there's 12 defenders in the line. So it's a really thick line there.
Okay, so South Sydney play the ball here and then they shift out to the right-hand side?
Yeah, so again, you'll see that line speed by these 3 players here, in particular Brooks and Moses Mbai. Okay, so they get up hard off the line. So Adam Reynolds gets a little bit spooked, takes the ball to the line.
And if Luke Brooks doesn't come out and Mbai doesn't come up and Norfoluma don't come up, it leaves someone like Latrell Mitchell on that edge to shift on to winger and score a try like they have so many times.
Yeah, and when Latrell has time, he executes as good as anyone in the competition. So, again, Reynolds takes the line on there because of that line speed in particular, as I said before, by Brooks and Mbai. And you saw Norfoluma sneaking up there on the left edge as well. Joel Fingawe wins the tackle. You'll see here that Simpkins and Offengawe are set there at marker close to the line. As South shift to their left-hand side, you'll just notice the amount of grass that the 3 defenders, Tommy Talau, James Roberts and Adam Dewey, put behind them. The grass they put behind them helps their defence. And what it does, it disrupts Cody Walker and the South Sydney Rabbitohs attacking the try line there. So again, really good job. Obviously, Benji Marshall again takes the line on. So there's 2 tackles in a row. They've disrupted Adam Reynolds on the West Tigers' left-hand side. They then disrupted Cody and Benji Marshall on the right-hand side of their defence. So they're doing a really good job. And in between there, they had a 6 again against them when Luke Brooks jumped off the line there early.
So if you're Michael Maguire, are you unhappy with your team giving away that 6 again?
No, I think as long as they show the resilience, which they did on the weekend, if it's an early play, a lot of teams will say stay in the tackle, and if it's play 1, play 2, sometimes even play 3. If they give away a penalty because it's just a 6 again, I don't think coaches are too bothered at different times. But again, they showed a lot better resilience, the West Tigers, against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And there, Garner's making a little bit awkward for Benji Marshall. Dane Gagai won off the ruck. So you can see this whole set has got no flow to it from an attacking point of view.
Because
but again,
the West Tigers have disrupted their shape.
Yeah, again, they've disrupted the shape. And you'll see the 2 West Tigers forwards there. They're staying in the tackle. All right, so you've seen a 1 out by Reynolds, a 1 out by Benji, and a 1 out by Gags there, which is very unusual with the flow of the South Sydney attack as a rule. So again, you'll see James Tamau disappear, left with 1 marker, which really thickens up this line here. The other person to highlight is there's Dane Laurie in the line. So it's very similar to Ryan Pappenhausen. It's a really thick line here. So when South Sydney shift to their right edge, the Tigers' left edge, you'll see again, there's Brooks, there's Mbai, up, which forces the South Sydney attacker and Cameron Murray to again show and dig. So there's 4 plays where they've gone 1 out because of the line speed from the Tigers. You'll see a squeeze there. Now this time they don't quite get the job done there. They get left with 2 markers close to the line, which isn't ideal. But again, have a look at this line speed here. Moses Mbai, Norfoluma get off the line. That's an enormous play there by Norfoluma. But because he put grass behind him, they really disrupted that whole set for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who have just about the best flow in the competition when they're on. But I really thought that the defensive line speed of the West Tigers, their ability to stay in the tackle and squeeze up, it made really hard work for the South Sydney Rabbits attacking the line on Saturday afternoon.
Right, unfortunately for West Tigers fans, they couldn't quite get the job done against the Rabbitohs. But for Manly, on the back of Tom Trebojevich's return, they're soaring 2 from 2 in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, well, it was fantastic. You know, I watched the game and I just thought defensively they were so good. And Tommy Trebojevic, he was outstanding with regards to his organisation of the defensive line and also what I called the Kelpie dog. You know, his effort at the back. He was running from side to side there as a protector of the Manly Sea Eagles defence. And obviously we all saw what he did on, you know, with the offence on the weekend. But I thought his defensive efforts were outstanding, and that's where Manly improved because, like I said about the West Tigers, 32 points per game leading into round 6. Well, Manly Sea Eagles had averaged 33 points against per game over the first 5 rounds. So it needed to be a big improvement, and we saw a big improvement on the weekend.
And they only conceded 12 points against the Warriors last week and then nothing against the Titans on the weekend. So they've really turned their defence around.
They have. And again, Desi Hasler, a very experienced coach. But one thing we notice about Desi Hasler coach teams is rather than a 3-man tackling team, they're a 2-man tackling team. So even in this area here, so the Gold Coast Titans get a 6 again here, and they shift the ball to their left-hand side of Dave Fafita. But you'll see that more often than not, there's only 2 defenders in the tackle. So there's one here, there's one here. They don't always get a 3rd man, and that's by design, I think. You know, coaching against Desi's teams, what they try and do is instead of that 3rd man going into the tackle, he'll go back into the line, because what it does mean is the line organisation or the defensive line already has that person who would be a 3rd man in the tackle already back. So it's a thick line.
So that 3rd man that might not go into that tackle, they've got to have confidence that these 2 players are going to slow down that play of the ball and win it enough off that first play without them going in.
Yeah, so it's really important for, I think that's Marty Tapau there at the very top of the tackle. He's got to squeeze, and he's the one who has to allow Tommy Trebojevic to get the defensive line or the defensive split set in behind the play of the ball.
All right, let's play this clip out for the Titans.
Yeah, so again, like I said, really good work there by Marty Tapau. Good line speed there from the Manly Sea Eagles, particularly out wide, which means, again, Big Tino has to show and dig into the line there. You'll see a good squeeze again by the Manly Sea Eagles, and in particular Lachlan Croker there at the very top. But who's in the picture organising the line? There's Tommy Trebojevic. As I let that play through.
So they shift out to the right.
Very good line speed again by Ruben Garrick. So he gets out past the 10. And again, what it does, it disrupts AJ Brimson. Brimson wants time. He's a very good, skillful player, and he's got a lot of speed. So by Ruben Garrick getting up like that, again, he goes for the lob pass. And the thing I like about this is the amount of Seagulls jerseys in the picture. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 all coming across in cover defence, which just shows the urgency. And here's our man again, Tom Trebojevic, in the picture.
Okay, and we haven't seen that effort each and every week from Manly, but the last couple of weeks they've really tightened that
Yeah, they have. So although there were 6 in the picture there, which is a fantastic effort, you'll still see there's only 2 defenders who make the tackle because they want to get that would-be 3rd man defender in the line and get it set straight away. So again, they've really disrupted the Titans' attack, who do throw a lot of questions at you. There's a long ball, and what that does, it allows the Seagulls to put all this grass in behind here. So they get out past the 12 or 13 metres because of those long balls to long balls. A really good effort there. Doesn't take talent to get off the line, but it's a real principle to their defence.
All right, let's focus, as you said, Tom Trebojevic and his organisational skills. So he was over in that corner of the play before, as we see him race, plugging in the line, which we spoke about off the top, the role of the fullback. And then as we play the clip out, he just follows that try line almost and follows the ball. As soon as the ball goes past him, he tracks along there.
Yeah, and his job as a fullback is to Kelpie dog all the way out the back and put himself in the picture if the Titans do make a line break on the Manly's right edge, to put himself in the frame to make that particular tackle. So you can see he's working really hard here. So again, I think there's Jake winning the play the ball there, 2-man tackle. Now it's the last play. So again, we'll point out Tom, he's at the very back. Last play, Brad Parker gets up really hard, and you'll see Ruben Garrick at the back here. He stays behind. Now, what Ruben Garrick's trying to do is he's trying to protect the kick. Brad Parker gets up hard, and if not for the mistake from Kevin Proctor, then there's a real chance that they go and score the try there. I'd like to see Kieran Thorne get up a little bit harder. But the person I want to show you again, if Kevin Proctor did catch the footy, have a look at the number 1 here for the Manly Sea Eagles in Tommy Trbojevic. He's there to make the tackle if Kevin Proctor did catch the football. But I like the look of that set. They really disrupted the Gold Coast attack. Gold Coast tried to go long to long. Tommy Trbojevic was on his Kelpie dog, but the line speed and the grass they put behind them was a major factor in them defending their try line so much better against the Titans last weekend.
So, Seeps, do you think that Tom Trebojevic's defensive efforts have been overshadowed purely because of how good he is in attack?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a major factor for Manly scoring 36 points on the weekend. He was a big factor, but for me, he was a massive factor in Manly Seagulls holding the Gold Coast Titans to 0 points on the weekend. So I think over the last few years, because he's so good with the footy and he's so good as an attacking weapon, that his defensive organisation and his effort in particular, he gets across the field and works harder than probably any other fullback in the competition that I can see over the last couple of years. And he's taken a real, I suppose, leaf out of Billy Slater's book, because that's what Billy prided himself on, his defensive organisation and his efforts off the ball as a fullback. And I think Tommy gets undervalued in those stakes.
Seeps, great analysis. For our viewers at home, it's plenty to take in. I hope you got a lot out of today's session when we're talking about defensive systems inside that 20 metres line. Let us know what you want us to analyse here each week on the game plan at our NRL social accounts, whether it be Facebook or Twitter.